we followed the trials and tribulations of the Sussexes very closely here on the Royal Report. Whether it was dishing the dirt on the royals in public or the drama at Centre Ballet, the faux royal tours or the on-again, off-again documentary series and podcasts, we've covered it all. But there was always one connection which survived that turbulence, and that was Harry's relationship with the York sisters, and in particular Princess Eugenie. Then this happened.
The reports are that he is lonelier than ever in Montecito. He has no friends. He has zero relationship with his family. We just read that he cut off Eugenie, Princess Eugenie. And so what is he going to do with all this unstructured time?
Hang on, I'm glad you mentioned that.
On how many ways his life has gone wrong.
Well, that was because of me, actually, the Eugenie thing, because she was having lunch with me and a group of people in a pub in London, and I was seen hugging them goodbye, and Harry saw this and went completely ballistic. I can confirm, breaking news, that is entirely true. Joining me now is writer and broadcaster Esther Krakue. Esther, is there more than immediately meets the eye?
Well, yes, that little tidbit from Piers is actually quite accurate. But it's important to remember this happened in sort of the winter of 2023. So I'm not sure to what extent, one, Harry has held a grudge, and to what extent the relationship has remained frosty up until this point. We know that the couple, the Sussexes, bought a place in Portugal, which was meant to serve as sort of the European base if they ever wanted to dish in out of Europe and then have a little bit of alone time. They've kind of joined this flurry of celebrities that are buying up properties in really key locations in Portugal because of the tax incentives. And we know that one of the big draws for that was the fact that Eugenie and her family had a place out there. But it wouldn't surprise me in the least if Harry did lose his mind, that Eugenie didn't stab Piers Morgan in the eyes with forks upon seeing him, just to avenge her cousin, which kind of just shows really how immature he's become. It's incredible. He's kind of reversed in maturity, and how fragile actually a lot of his relationships with his family are, because you can imagine if someone like Eugenie, who's been quite an ally to him, she was, if not the only royal to actually go out to Montecito to visit the family. We know that she's had a warmer relationship with Meghan than basically the rest of the family, and certainly Will and Kate, that this is quite indicative of Harry's state of mind and really where he is with his family. And what Maureen mentioned in that video, which is pretty spot on, is it's really hard to imagine how truly happy he is. He doesn't really have the same base that he has. I mean, I know Montecito is beautiful, but when you don't have friends and family around you, it can feel quite empty. If all your company is basically your mother-in-law, your wife, who's busy doing sort of her boss babe life, and your two children who are, you know, can barely speak, really. They're not adults you can converse with. It can be a pretty lonely existence. And this was someone who was a prince. He was in the army. He was used to that camaraderie and having really a sense of direction at all times and knowing exactly what to do. And he's kind of had to juxtapose that previous life onto what he has now. And it can't help but feel quite empty. And I'm sure this certainly doesn't help that.
And going on from that, the observation has been made by others this week that Harry's obsession with being a spare is starting to affect those other relationships. Given recent events, do you think there's anything in this?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things that has clearly plagued him his entire life, this really weird status of being the spare until Will settled down and had children, which of course he did, and him trying to find himself and him feeling the need, almost the rush to have a family of his own and a center of gravity and a sense of purpose. And you can tell that from his book Spare, where he basically just sounded like a belligerent child. And so it's become quite awkward, because now you can see that he sees everything through that lens. His how he grieved he was about his family when King Charles said, you know, he can't really afford him and Meghan, how he felt like they weren't really kind of put in the spotlight or treated the way that they should have been. It's this psychological inferiority complex where he's always felt like he's being treated as a backup. And now that he's kind of split from that and come center stage in his own way and effectively cut off many people in the process, you can see how that still plagues him day to day. I mean, this is someone who's had quite an abnormal reaction to a lot of things. And I think it stems from his own inferiority complex. And I'm not saying that the royal family or being in that institution is perfect. Of course, it comes with its own antiquated norms, an interesting way of doing things. And the average person certainly couldn't understand it. And the average person could actually sympathize with someone wanting to get out of that fishbowl. But clearly his issues run deeper than just how his perceived slights or how he perceived he was mistreated alongside his wife.